Thanks for listening to the Brian Brawdy Show. It's time to mortal up.
Good evening once again, coming to you from my seat in the absolute greatest time in the history of the world to be alive. It's Thursday, and tonight we're talking about Go With the Flow. Thank you very much, Wayne, for such an excellent graphic. I couldn't do that. I love the word, the way the letters look like they're flowing. Go With the Flow. We'll be talking about that. We've got all kinds of stuff to catch up on this evening. And again, we just chuckle. I had 2 or 3 phone calls today. Let me say hello to Candace right out of the box. Candace, how are you? Nice to see you. Peace to you as well. And we were talking about today that there's just so many crazy things going on in the world. So to that end, you know how we are here. But let's get some of the business out of the way first. You know now that one of the things that we do at Brian Brawdy & Associates, obviously we have Counterpunch Media, which is like the company that does all things audio and video. And then, of course, under that falls the Brian Brawdy Show. And now we've been told that when we do some of our marketing, and we'll be getting to that in a little bit, when we do some of our marketing, it makes it hard for people to understand what's going on. So we have the new campaign that we'll be doing. We'd love to get your opinion of it tonight, called Radio Bry. It's just radiobry.com, and it'll direct you absolutely to the show. And to that end, let me thank everyone listening on YouTube, on IPMNation.com, most certainly on Mortal Up. And thank you to everyone here in the feed on Facebook. It's just great to have the discussions, to see what people are thinking. And don't forget, in addition to Radio Bry, which links right over to the Mortal Up page, you can go over to mortalup.com and see all the things we're involved in, including the poll. Now, if I remember correctly, last night's poll, and we'll check in with Wayne here in just a little bit, but last night's poll was, judicial precedents. So we'll get an idea of how everyone voted on there, and then we'll get to some of the big topics for today, including skateboarder spray, a product we'll be announcing. A little bit of background on that, but there's a product we'll be announcing tomorrow. I'll tell you about that in just a little bit. But first, let's get to our opening segment tonight. You know it. You love it. We call it Lowlife's Making Headlines. Lowlife's Making Headlines, or as we like to call it around here, brains that make your blood boil. Here's your brittle brain atop a balsa wood spine for today. All right. Now, in fairness, I come in every day and we go, what are we going to do for Lowlife's Making Headlines? Now, we have one tonight. It's still kind of like a group of people. So I'll get to that real quick, and then, right, you'll get a sense of where we're going with this. But we have a new segment that'll be coming out the end of each week where the listeners will be able to vote on a conglomerate, if you will, of Lowlife's Making Headlines. But let's get to this first. We know if you're hiking in the wilderness, you come across a grizzly bear, any kind of bear, really, but grizzly bears for sure. Thank you, Candace. Only one. That's exactly what we're going to be talking about here in just a minute, Candace. That every night it's like, how can you pick just one? This stuff writes itself. You're like, Brian, I don't know about you, but how can you say there's only going to be one person picked? That's craziness. So we came up with what's called the Maleficent 7. Now, you probably remember either the old movie or the remake, which I like just as well. You remember the remake of the Maleficent or the Magnificent 7? Well, we're coming out with the Maleficent 7. And just as placeholders, as one would, we put up, Chris Hayes from MSNBC and from the Circus News Network, Jake Tapper, of course, Joy Reid from MSNBC. Little Jimmy accosted. He's represented along with Don Lemonade or Lemonade, whatever his name is. Don Lemon from CNN. Also, MSNBC, Joe Scarborough. And would any list of the Maleficent 7 be complete without putting Nancy Pelosi in the top spot or the bottom spot, however you look at it? But here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to the Maleficent 7 every week because you're right. How can you possibly, as Candace says, one, that's craziness. How do you do it? How can you pick just one lowlife making headline? There's too many of them. So here's what we're going to do. And again, just my friends here in the media, some in politics, screaming, hollering, carrying on like little Jimmy accosted. Nancy Pelosi, I got a lot of arrows in my quiver. If he tries anything, I'll just impeach him again. Like impeachment is just like, oh, I'll write him a parking ticket again. I'll keep putting him on his windshields if I have to. So the Maleficent 7 will be like a way of grouping some of them together. But for tonight's lowlifes making headlines, and we've talked about this before, so just give me a second here. If you're out with your husband or your wife and you're having dinner and the local government or the county government or the governor or whoever has mandated that you can't go into the restaurant because that would just mean that COVID's going to blow wide open, right? Well, if one person has the Wuhan wheeze, then the whole restaurant will get it, especially if there's like a salad bar without a sneeze guard, all the rest of that. So the lowlifes making headlines for this evening are the people that decide when you're with your husband, you're with your wife, you're with your family, or whatever you're doing. You're sitting out there on the sidewalk, right on the curb, right? It's not tough enough that you have to deal with vehicle exhaust while you're sitting there having your shrimp cocktail and your drink, right? Your rusty nail, Drambuie and scotch, right? I'm told. I don't know for sure, but I'm just told that's what it was. Ms. Putnam, thank you very much for joining us. Hello to you. Man, you've been putting up some really tasty pictures lately. And I have to tell you, if you haven't got a chance to see it, would you please put a link up here in the feed so that people get an idea of what you're doing? I love the French toast wins. And was it a banana cream pie? It's absolutely my favorite. So thank you so much. My stomach really does growl. My mouth waters every time I see your post. So in any event, tonight's Lowlife's making headlines. There was another group of people that decided it would be a good idea, right? As we talked about over in the feed, these are the people with both keyboard and skateboard courage. It would be a really great idea to go up, pick at these people's food, scream at them, holler at them, use a bullhorn, tell them all kinds of things, and basically just disrupt their meal. Now, if you ever noticed that the people that these protesters, oh, come on, they're just protesters, don't be rough. These protesters pick on couples that are a little older. Pick on couples, right? If they don't put their hands up in the air, if they don't say, put their fist up and they don't do the chant and they don't do this and that, they get attacked, right? Verbally attacked or harassed or whatever. And this one was in Florida. You'd think they'd learn from the three that were just arrested a couple weeks ago in Pittsburgh. You'd think they learn, hey, if people are having dinner out on the sidewalk, maybe that's not the time to harass them because as the one gargantua, I forget that individual's name, came up and grabbed a beer and started chugging it, you got to go, all right, this is just craziness. So I know you think, well, Brian, that was an easy lowlife's making headlines. And most days you would be wrong. So quick note to self. And this is why we came up with what's called skateboard spray. And we have a very official, we're going to QVC with it, everything else, very official rollout tomorrow night. You know, of bear sprays, I started to say, grizzly bear spray. You use it if you're out hiking, you come across a grizzly bear, it throws a stream. Well, this is going to be called skateboard spray. You can pick up a can. I pick up a case. You never can tell how the winter's going to go. It's a can. It's a spray, a bear pepper spray for skateboarders. Skateboarders that come up to your table, try to drink your beer, try to eat your French fries, stick their ratty finger in your tiramisu or your, another thing, Miss Putnam, that I absolutely love is rice pudding. They stick their finger in your rice pudding and they come up to your table. So we're announcing a new product. It's called Skateboard Spray, brought to you by your favorite bear spray manufacturer, although I don't remember what the name was. All depend on what Wayne whips up in the graphic, but Skateboard Spray will be announcing it tomorrow night, and they make great stocking stuffers. So maybe you should get some for your family and friends. So if you're out with your loved one, your husband or your wife, however that works, if you're out and these little no minds, these little ass hats, oh man, sorry, I wasn't supposed to say no minds. Wayne said to me today, you got to watch the language. Okay, I didn't mean to say no minds. These ass hats will come up to your table and try to disrupt your meal because they're such tough guys, right? Oh, these are just the toughies of the tough, right? They come up. So we have skateboard spray. And like I said, great stocking stuffer later this fall. Now, I know you're thinking to yourself, oh, Bri, really? That was an easy low life making headlines, and you'd be absolutely right. Let me say hello to Brian. Brian, come to my table. Come by my table. Yeah, I've always got a chair open. Let me say hello to David. Oh, there's the link. Pampered Chef VIP, Ted Philhart. Hello, brother. I have known Ted for a lot of years. It's always nice to see you. Thank you so much for stopping by. I super appreciate it, as I've known Brian for a lot of years. It's great to see you there as well. And I'm like you, Brian. I have a little card, service for 3. And if there's only 2 of us sitting there, there's like a welcome back. Just, oh, yeah, come on up. Why don't you try it? I got 2 cans of skateboarder spray. So now I know you're thinking, look, if someone comes up and interrupts your meal, that's the perfect contestant for the Low Life's Making Headlines. Well, but no, you'd be wrong tonight because, and I posted this earlier in the Facebook feed, early this morning, I think I got it. It just gets my goat, right? You get up, having a cup of coffee, and before you know it, there's something in there that just drives you insane. So here's what happened. A young boy, and I want to say it was somewhere in Texas. If I have the state wrong, I apologize. It's in this morning's feed. Wayne, if you happen to remember, please chime in and correct me. Young boy, very young boy, elementary school, it looks like, sneezed, right? Could have been tree pollen, could have been pet dander. Maybe his teacher had 2 poodles. Let's hope she's not white, because we know then if she's a white person with poodles, the current trend is to believe that you're a racist if you own a dog and blah, blah, blah. So maybe it was pet dander. Who knows? I'm not really certain. But the boy sneezes. And he sneezes twice in a row. I know some people that sneeze 3 or 4 times. You can count on it. If they sneeze once, you go, here we go. And again. And then for the finale, right? It's just like a habit. This is how they sneeze. Well, this poor young boy, this poor young student sneezes twice in a row. They cart him off to the nurse's office. Then they call his dad. And his dad has to come and pick him up because he's been expelled from school. He's been expelled from school because he sneezed twice. And he's not allowed back at school, until he has a COVID test. And his poor dad's like, man, I hope we can afford the test. I hope we can get a test. I hope we can get test results back. Again, you're thinking, well, who's the low life making headline in that thing? You ready for this? The school sends out a letter to all the parents saying, wanted to let you know how great we are. We're the defenders of the flag. We know what's going on. We're not, we're not trying to do anything but brag about how great we are. We identified a young student today with COVID-19 symptoms. So you're right to say, wait a minute. So the school administration gets tonight's Low Life's Making Headlines? Yes, that's absolutely true. This poor kid sneezes twice. They stop the press, everything on lockdown, black down helicopters, landing on the roof, get this poor kid, shuffle him out, get him to the nurse's office. There's hazmat suits. They're laying down fire foam, all this other stuff, right? They call the dad. The dad's got to come and get him. And then the school board, school administration, whoever it is, yes, thank you, Wayne, they get our Low Life's Making Headlines for today because they say, oh, aren't we the greatest? We're on top of the ball. We sent this young man home. We sent this student home because they were exhibiting COVID-19 symptoms because he sneezed. Brian says, I'll share my beer mug. Brian, you're the nicest guy. I think that's how Brian and I met. One night, group of his friends and a group of my friends decided to share beer mugs. Bridget says, hello. Hey, listen, we got 3 BBs. Bridget Butler, Brian Bouchard, Brian Brawdy, nice to have you. Thank you very much. Bridget says, oh, just say bless you. I love it, right? Bridget, because then you do the sign of the cross and one hand happens to get away and just, right, one hand just goes. Just like one, the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, schmack. Right? I love it. But again, not the Low Life's Making Headlines for today. Well, Candace says she saw this. Now I'm going to only get in trouble if this happens, right? Because apparently, so here was the deal. Last night I said, if you decide that you should only vote yes or no, depending upon the situation that you're in, that there's no overlying statute, right? It's either right or it's wrong, but you decide if it's right or wrong, if it serves you. So I just said you're a cherry picking prick. And the prick, by prick, I meant sharpened wooden stick like a cattle prod that they used. Very biblical, right? So that was all I was saying. So now I have to be careful. I don't even know, right? Because people complain, I can't believe you said prick. What? I can't say cattle prod, pointed stick? All right, so they're cherry-picking pointed sticks. That makes everybody else happy. Now I don't even know, Candace, am I allowed to say farts? Wayne's going to have to chime in and let me know if that's a word. Is that considered vulgar? I couldn't say cherry-picking pricks last night. So now maybe I can't say farts. But Candace, I agree with you. What if someone in his class passed gas and he was the next one, 6 feet away though, he was the next one in line and sneezed? What are you going to do? Poor thing. Well, now I feel bad for the dad. I feel bad for the family. Let me say hello to another Brian. Brian, welcome this evening. He says they did him a favor, getting him out of the indoctrination center. Brian, you and I Brian Bashard and I should get together and trade beers. I absolutely agree with you. But you just feel bad because you see the kid. He was like, oh, I hope I get back to school. And the dad's like, I hope I can afford the test. Hopefully get this, that. But Brian, I absolutely agree. If I could give that a heart, I would. But apparently here on the screen, I can only do likes. So there's our lowlife making headlines for the day. The school board administrators that said because of 2 sneezes, this poor little thing was exposing everyone else. He was expressing COVID-19 systems, and the poor little kid's got a mask around. It's obvious he had a mask on and everything else, but oh no, we just got to be careful. If he sneezes, it's COVID. What? And here's the thing. Here's the craziness about it. These are the people. My friend Nick corrected me today and said, well, you probably shouldn't be using the word intellects. These are the people responsible for raising children, right? To speak to Brian's point, getting them out of that indoctrination center. Either way, they're still responsible for training a human mind, and now they've got you convinced. No one here in the feed is as old as I am, but when I was a young little kid, this young man's age, and anyone ever touched me, I would just flip my belt open. Does anyone remember? Bashard, you may remember. I don't know. Does anyone remember? And maybe it's a West Virginia thing. I don't know. Maybe Candace knows. If someone came up and touched you, and you would whip open that little flappy end of your belt that hangs over, you know what I mean? That belt, you can never find enough holes to put your belt in. That little flappy thing. Does anyone remember? You can comment here in the feed. Candace says, I sneeze every day of my life. Does anyone remember what 2 letters you would write so that you were protected? Oh, I just gave it away. Well, one of the 2 letters is P for protection. Does anyone remember what that was? Or like I said, maybe it was just West Virginia. And then, Candace, that reminds me of walking into Walgreens. I'll tell you that story here very quickly. So just in case no one knows of it, in West Virginia, where I grew up later in years and early on in New York and Pittsburgh areas where I went to different schools, you could write CP on the inside of your belt if you were a guy. If you were a girl, I don't know where you would write it. I don't remember really. But you could whip that part of your belt to the side and go, cootie protection. Cootie protection. Can't give it to me. I'm not it. Can't touch me. I've got cootie protection. Well, these poor little kids, they begin to believe that if they sneeze, if they breathe, they're going to die. So a friend of mine that's a doctor asked me last month, he goes, what's the long-term effect? What's the PTSD for teaching little kids, little human minds? What's the thing? What's going to happen 10 years from now where they're all busy seeing a therapist? Brian says definitely a West Virginia hillbilly. Now it's coming back to me. I know why we traded beer mugs way back when. Way back when. Thank you very much. Let me just say I'm proud to be, for all my friends, anyone listening from West Virginia, I'm proud to be a hillbilly, and I really do have one leg longer than another, right, from standing on the side of the mountain. It's genetic defect with me, but West Virginia seemed to suit me just fine. Bridget says, gotta let it go. Just saying. That's right. If you're going to sneeze, then sneeze. I have allergies, Daniel says. Daniel Barrero, nice to see you, brother. I hope you are doing great. Daniel says, I have allergies, so I sneeze. All right, let me get this out before we get too far along. I want to get to the other segments and get everybody's calls. But I was walking into a Walgreens not too long ago. Ashley asked me to run over and pick up something. I don't know, an ointment, a prescription for the kids, whatever. So I walked in. Now, unlike Daniel, unlike other folks, I'm not necessarily prone to a lot of allergies. I can go a year without sneezing. Right? It doesn't happen. So I'm heading over to Walgreens. That's why I feel so bad for this little guy, notwithstanding Brian's point, which is a very valid point. I walk into Walgreens, and I never sneeze. I sneeze about as often as I wear a mask when I go out, if you get where I'm going. So I walk into Walgreens, and I realize now I am allergic to something. It's the smell of Lysol when they pipe it through everything, everywhere. I walked in, the doors slid open, and I was hit like the smell, like a fog. I was like a wall of spray, like a shrimp trawler went by, and I was swimming. A wall of spray of disinfectant, janitor in a drum, Lysol, whatever they were using. And I couldn't have been 2 steps in the door, and I sneezed. You'd have thought I took both handguns, 2 handguns, both. I carry more than 2. You'd have thought I took both handguns and put rounds into the ceiling. People were diving over counters. People were ducking around, running for the exits, this and that. And all I did was sneeze. And I felt so guilty that I turned around and just walked out, right? Because the people were, now don't get me wrong. I love it when people get out of my way, right? Especially when I'm in a grocery store or if I'm out in the morning going for a run, right? And these people walking their Shetland ponies, walking their dogs, whatever, they're coming down the sidewalk and they go, oh, we got to give them 6 feet. And they take their little blue bag of dog scat and they cross over to the other side. Put me down for 2 scoops. I'm a huge fan. I'm loving this 6-foot rule because it means everybody's got to stay out of my way. So I felt really bad for these people, and I sneezed. My apologies to everyone that has allergies and has to put up with that. It's about the only thing that hasn't gone wrong for me in life, to be honest. But I walked in there, and they thought I was there to rob them. Funniest thing I've seen in the longest time. I don't think I've been back to that Walgreens since. They probably got my picture up. Remember, speaking of West Virginia hillbilly, as Brian said, do you remember younger when we were growing up? And I'm good with a banjo. Why do you do that to me? This is a lot, right? I'm going to channel Ned Beatty. I'm going to start doing Ned Beatty jokes. Brian Bashar, with my throat issues and wearing a mask, I have to clear my throat often. I get a look like I'm a leper. Brian, I've had lunch with you. It doesn't bother me when you clear your throat. Sometimes we have a little too much fudge and that gets in there. But other than that, I think you're doing great. Looking like a leper. I get it when I go places because people look at me. I wear a face shield as opposed to a mask because after the brain surgeries, I have no nerve endings in my nose. So I'm trying to get oxygen all I can, right? I'm trying to, nothing, my tongue doesn't work. My left nostril doesn't work. So I wear this face shield and I get the leper look, B. People look at you like, oh, I can't believe it. And it used to be, you're not wearing it for yourself. You're wearing it for me. I don't even like you. Chances of me wearing anything. You're lucky I put pants on to come in this store. Wearing it for you. Are you kidding? At least now the CDC says, oh, no, that was a mistake. We probably shouldn't have said that. Wow, you figure? As I said in the conversation today, the last time I listened to The Who for any kind of advice, Roger Daltrey was the lead singer. So in any event, that's my sneeze thing. That's the lowlifes making headlines. And Wayne, if you could throw up the Maleficent 7 again, that's why I think you might agree now. There's just too much craziness in the world. So just as honorable mentions, right? We'll pick brand new ones by the time this airs. Honorable mentions, Chris Hayes, always screaming about something over at MSNBC. And of course, Jake Tapper. You can't beat old Jake. MSNBC. Joy Reid. Little Circus News Network, Jimmy accosted, always offended, always upset, always screaming about something. Of course, the Circus News Network's Don Lemon, whatever his name is, however he pronounces it, tomato. MSNBC, Joe Scarborough. I don't like to say bad things about people, but do you wear a dog cone? I'll get to that, Candace. Hold on. Because sometimes I forget. And I'll tell you what I did do. And I'll just mention Joe Scarborough. What a disagreeable human being. Disagreeable human being, right? With the man plays the guitar and everything. I just don't understand. And of course, Nancy, I don't have to wear a face mask to get my hair cut. Pelosi, I'm the Speaker of the House for however long that lasts. They'll round out the top 7 in the Maleficent 7. So as Candace says, do you wear a dog cone? One time I was at a store, I had a face mask, and I always, just so you all know, you're like, Brian, why do we care? This might be helpful. This is breaking news. News you can use as opposed to news you can use. I don't go anywhere anymore without sunglasses, earphones, right? iPhone, with the cords, iPhones, so that I put in sunglasses. I have this music on, and I wear a face shield. So I'm in a particular store. Guy comes up to me, and you could tell he's mad. You could tell he's ticked. See, Wayne, I'm doing better. I almost said pissed. You could tell he's ticked. Candace, you're very... Brian says, oxygen deprivation explains a lot. Yeah, apparently it only gets me about halfway. Being nuts and oxygen deprivation, Brian. Those two probably round out the thing. Bridget says, aren't pants optional? Bridget, they are for me. Didn't we talk about hanging out last time we were on the thread together? I'm with you, Bridget. Pants are definitely optional. That's all I'm saying. No shoes, no shirt, no service. I walk in and go, oh, MasterCard. That's the logo I wanted Wayne to work on. I can give you my credit card, or you can complain that I'm not wearing a mask, right? MasterCard. You decide. Never leave home without whatever the commercials are. MasterCard. Right? Because I find most people, they just want your money. Right? They don't care how you're dressed. They just want your money. So in any event, this older guy comes up to me, and I'm busy listening to, who knows? I'm listening to Spotify. I'm doing something, right? I'm doing something, and I can tell this guy's upset, and he's kind of like, oh, thank you, Wayne. I'm listening to Radio Bry on Spotify. Yes, I am. RadioBry.com. You don't listen there, please. If you think about it, please do. Also, don't forget to go over to mortalup.com. And you can catch the show there as well as right here on Facebook. So I can tell, when someone, they're ticked, you can't see their lips, but their eyes are like beady and they're all lit up and they're like poking at you, and you go, he either has Tourette's syndrome and he thinks I'm his mirror, or he's just kind of like poking. And at first part you think, it's 6 feet, pal, back up, 3-second rule, get a move on. Then I realized, he's an older guy, I'll let it go. And so I could tell he's yelling at me about, I guess, the face shield. So I know, right? I'm saying all the time, don't let people get to you. Don't let it get in, right? Don't do that. So what I do, I took the face shield, I turned it around, pulled it down. Now the headband of the face shield, I'm wearing it like a choker. So that was a long way to go, Candace, to let you know, yes, it does look like a dog cone, because I put a choker I put this white plastic thing around my neck, and I walked through the rest of the store. I'm assuming he was still screaming the whole time, walking through the store with an inverted face shield, looking like a dog cone. So there you have it. All right, Wayne, let's get ready. We're going to run to the bottom of the hour, and we come back. We're going to open up the phone lines, the text lines are always open, as you know. Oh, Wayne's giving me a signal. Oh, maybe I wasn't supposed to say that either. I don't know what it could have been that I said that I wasn't supposed to. But all right, thank you, Wayne, as always, for checking. Wayne will bleep that out by the time this gets the podcast. Who are we kidding? All right, we're going to run to the bottom of the hour. When we get back, it'll be time for your calls. Here we go. Welcome back to the second half hour. This is just, as I said to kick it off, the greatest time in the history of the world to be alive. I want to make mention of these. If I haven't, just give me a DM or head on over to mortalup.com, drop us an email or the like. But it is now I know you're thinking, right? Well, Brian, it's almost wintertime in a lot of the country. Where are you going to use a koozie? I don't know. Maybe, speaking of stocking stuffers, you could get one of the Mortal Up koozies with the Brian Brawdy logo. You can get one of the Mortal Up koozies to hold your can of skateboarder spray, right? It'll kind of like conceal it so no one will really know you have skateboarder spray. We'll get you one of those if you like. We also have T-shirts or some other things. So head on over to mortalup.com. I'm working on a deal to get some flags. Do you know why I'm working on a deal to get flags? I'll say this quickly before we go to the phones, because I made a mistake of moving into a homeowners association, right? Which was the beginning of my whole thought that big government doesn't live in distant capitals. Big government lives in little minds, right? It's the president of the homeowners association that says, oh, well, I have a right to tell you what to do. I have a right to tell you what sides. I have a right to tell you if you can fly a flag. I have a right to tell you da-da-da-da-da-da. So, you know me, trying to get a different flag for every day of the week just because they tell me I can't. Now, usually someone will respond in the feed or someone will say, well, jerky. See, I didn't say jackass, Wayne. Well, jerky, you shouldn't have signed the mortgage then, or you shouldn't have signed this, or you shouldn't have signed. You signed it. You should have known it was a homeowners association. Of course I should have known. Had I known they were going to be, they were just going to be, again, big government living in little minds, brittle brains atop balsa wood spines, if I was going to try to rhyme here at this late hour. That I didn't know that's what I was getting into. I didn't know they could tell you the color white your mailbox post has to be. Oh, my good Lord. Talk about trading beer mugs. Great. A Brawdy flotilla. Thank you, Brian, very much. I'd be all over that. I like that. I'll have you riding with me. Oh, you know what? You could be in the pace car in the vet. You could be out in front, Brian, like in the pace car. We'll get some Mortal Up magnet decals, because I know you won't allow me to put a bumper sticker on there. We won't wrap it. We'll get some decals, put them on, and your vet can lead the way of the Brawdy flotilla. Yeah, the words are the first thing to go. That's another thing, right? They were busy cutting off those nerves. It's like they got my tongue. Never mind. All right. So in any event, let's go ahead, Wayne, open the phone lines. And then once we're back, I want to get a hold of you and tell me what's going on in the world, what you're working on, where we're at, that kind of thing.
The phone lines are open. Now's your chance to mortal up and give Brian a shout, because your opinion deserves to be heard. Dial toll-free 1-833-MORTAL-1. That's 833-MORTAL-1.
And if you like scratching out the numbers like I do, that's 833-667-8251. 833-667-8251. You can also text us. That comes right in on the studio line as well. So, Wayne, what's going on in the world? I thank you so much for putting together the Go With The Flow, which we got to get back to once we do, if we get time to do chicken wing sauce. Go With The Flow into Mortal Up. But thank you most certainly for the Maleficent 7 logo. Any other early contestants that are going to be added to that when we break a new one?
Oh, I have a list.
Oh, I knew. Yeah, there you go, rubbing your hands. Let me say hello to Daniel. He's back. He says the HOA police. Absolutely. Wayne says, go ahead. Here's where you can text us. Here's where you can reach us. And Wayne, before you go, Brian says, I can't tell how excited I am for that opportunity. The flotilla pace car. I know, right? You're going to be losing sleep tonight. You'll be texting me like 4 a.m. going, hey, are you sending me a contract? How do we got to do it? When's the date? How's it going to happen? You're just going to be beside yourself. And of course, we'll have to get Mark in so that he can ride like the Pace motorcycle, which will lead the Pace Corvette, which will lead the rest of the entourage, the rest of the flotilla pace car. All right, Wayne, what's going on?
Same old stuff. Just doing a lot of research.
All right.
You heard about the military ballots?
Yeah, I found them in a garbage can or a roadside.
In Pennsylvania?
A ditch. Yeah. Let me guess. The ballots were all for Z. Biden.
No. Every one of them they found was for Trump.
Ooh, wow. The plot thickens. Every military ballot that they found that had been discarded, right? I'm sure they just blew off the back of the mail truck. But every one of the ballots, filled out for President Trump. Oh, who'd have thunk? Never saw that coming.
Yeah, and the apparently the state troopers that found them contacted the Justice Department and the FBI.
FBI. Look, here's just a suggestion to people that are going to interfere, voter fraud, if you will. If you're going to dump a whole batch of ballots, right, throw them somewhere where no one else is going to find them. It's like, a politician's involved in this, right? Because they're just not smart enough to cover their tracks. Who are they, Hunter Biden? What's going on with that, Wayne? Can I just say this, and I don't want to hijack the show and the feed and this and that, but if the mainstream media is going to continue to refuse to talk about all the shenanigans that looks like were going on with Hunter Biden, I say we should talk about it here.
Yeah,
right? If they don't want to bring it up, we should. Oh,
Hunter Biden got away with it because G. Biden was, he was the VP at the time.
I got to tell you, I looked through some of my pictures today from the last time I was at the square. The likeness is uncanny. Except, in fairness, Joe doesn't dye his hair. In fairness, just so you know, if the interest in full disclosure. All right, so the ballots all have Trump's name on them. Great. Hunter Biden, they're going to look into that. But who are we kidding? And I say this, especially with everyone here in the feed, the people over on YouTube, IPM Nation, listening on Mortal Up. I want to say, nobody, it doesn't seem like anyone's going to change their mind anymore, Wayne. I don't know. What about you? How are we looking on the poll for does precedence at the Supreme Court matter, right? Well, if it's 29-0, does that precedent matter the same way, say, the abortion precedent matters, right? If it's precedent, it's precedent. Where are we on that story today?
Well, I'm going to hate to tell you this.
Here we go.
Absolutely zero people went out to that.
No one had an opinion?
No one went out to mortalup.com.
No one went out and shared an opinion. Oh, well.
About a third of the way down the page is where the poll is.
Is about where the poll is.
And
okay.
It's the same
well,
poll.
We pretty much exercised it last night in the thread, which just means we don't got random people that haven't had a chance to think about what it was. But if you get a chance or you suggest your friends, look, if you're really passionate about it, can you head on over to mortalup.com? There'll be a poll, and we'll we ever draw anybody to it like a bug light, moths to a blue light. Maybe that's what we ought to do, Wayne, is we ought to put a blue light up next to it, right? See if it can draw any moths or whatever. But if you get a chance to go to the poll, or a red light, that'll work. So judicial precedent, nothing going on there, although a lot of people are still talking about it. We'll move on to that. I know tomorrow night we've got a pretty cool thing going on. We're going to be doing the Three Stooges plus the honorable mention. We would have called it the Four Stooges, but that doesn't sound like it doesn't sound like you're on top of it. So we'll call it the Three Stooges plus the honorable mention. What else we got going on?
That's it. I'm just glad you just reminded me on that one because
well, it's got 20 minutes.
I forgot all
you
about
get to work on it. All right. The phone lines are open. Don't forget, while Wayne's busy working on that, you can give us a call, 833-MORTAL and the numeral 1, 833-MORTAL1 or 833-667-8251. I did an interview today, Wayne. I did a podcast for an hour, and I couldn't remember Joel Osteen's name for the life of me, because we talked about him last night as being a lowlife making headlines. I could not remember his name, and I said to the guys during the interview, I go, the mega preacher with the hair and the bleached white teeth. And the kid goes, "Oh, Joel Osteen." I go, "Yeah, that's exactly who I was. That's exactly what I was talking about." Brian says, "More cowbell. We need more cowbell." I'll give you that. Bridget says, "Somewhere out there's a can for Biden. It's called a trash can." Ouch. Well, here's the thing, though, Bridget. I'm beginning to wonder, are we going to change anyone's mind? I think, right, you have the people that no matter what happens on the left, no matter what happens on the right, they're going to stick with their guy, right? If there's ever a woman that runs, they're going to stick with their point of view, right? Because they're cherry-picking, what did we just say? Oh, cherry-picking pricks. Of course, we mean the biblical, right? Cattle prods. So they're going to stick with them. But good golly, how much more dirt do they have to uncover on Hunter Biden? Now, it was brilliant, Wayne. Let me tell you something about the liberal left. Democratic Party hijacked by the liberal left. They're very smart. And do you want to know why I think they're very smart?
No, tell me why.
Well, here's why, right? And just so next time you're at a dinner party and someone wants to argue with you, here's what you can say. Because who did they have speak at the Democratic Emmy Awards? They called it a convention, but it was just like a bad Emmy Awards. Who did they have speak at the Emmy Awards, the Democratic convention? Who was a guest speaker? Hunter Biden. He was a speaker. And you know why he was a speaker?
Couldn't imagine.
No, got you some. Couldn't imagine. Because they want to say, if Hunter Biden was guilty, would we have really let him speak at the convention? Talk about a bait and switch. It was brilliant. So they're going to be able to say, of course, we won't let him speak at the convention if we thought any of this stuff were true.
Yeah, but now the Senate report just came out.
Senate report just came out. Little Hunter Biden is in some hot water. Not as hot as Mike Bloomberg. Thank you, Candace, for reminding me. Candace is like our distance. What do they call it now? If you're looking for a job, distance is okay. Remote. She's our remote producer, and she goes, no, and I'm not a paid felon in Florida. So Candace reminds me that the name we should have added to the list, Wayne, which we will, Candace, for tomorrow night, is little Mikey Bloomberg. Now, if the stories are true, Bloomberg said, I'll pay the fines of all the felons that are precluded from voting in Florida. I'll pay all the fines so that they can vote. So then somebody in Florida was screaming about it. I think it was the Attorney General. Somebody in Florida was screaming about it. And they said, oh, now we're going to have the DOJ launch an investigation because if you pay for a felon's fines. Now, I also heard later in the day that the Attorney General of Florida say it's not just the fines, it's also restitution of whatever damage they did, however all that works. So it's a good bit more than that. But Wayne, my goodness, have we gotten to a point where Dems actually think they can pay the fines of felons? They can get senators added to D.C. and Puerto Rico. They can stack the Supreme Court if they don't get their way. To my friends that called this morning and reminded me that I guess what I meant to say was they take their ball and go home. I happened to mention, because I thought there was more than one, that they take their balls and go home. But apparently some people took that, whether it's the right way or the wrong way, right? Wink, wink, nod, nod. It was multiple people taking an individual ball. So, Brian, you can help me with the math. If there's 5 guys, each with one ball, 5 guys leave and take their individual ball. They left taking their balls. That's the story I'm sticking to, Wayne. He's like a censor. Wayne goes, all right, I got the cancel button right here. I'll hit it if you make me. Brian Bouchard said, never seen the public so divided and dug in. Literally, either side could commit mass murders of kindergartens, and no one would be swayed. I'm absolutely with you. Brian, I love it. Here's the thing. You should run. I'll be your VP. But I absolutely agree with you, Brian. So many people are dug in. Now, let me ask you this question. Do you think, and it's open to everyone here in the thread, you're also welcome to call us, 833-MORTAL, 1, the numeral 1, Mortal 1. Do you think that this Supreme Court, the opening of the Supreme Court nomination, the opening of the seat of which Trump's going to make the nomination this weekend, do you think that's enough that people will go, oh, I don't like this candidate or I don't like that candidate, but I can't afford to let the other guy get a Supreme Court pick? Brian, do you think that's enough? Anyone here in the feed, jump in. Will that be enough? Because I'm with Brian, right? Everyone is so dug in. Mass murder of kindergartens, right? And look, we're not calling for the mass murder of kindergartens. So all the people that are going to go, oh, I can't believe that last night. He's got a lot of nerve. That Brian guy calling us the Maleficent Seven, and he's calling for the mass murder of kindergartners. Idiots. It's a wonder they let him in front of the camera. In any event, could that be the thing that sways people's minds? Could that be the thing that puts either candidate overboard, right? What do you think, Wayne? Will that be enough to make people think one way or another? Man, this Supreme Court. I got to make this work.
I think people have pretty much made up their minds, and I don't really believe anything can really happen now that's going to people's minds.
So there's no more independent yet. They all know who they're going one way or another.
I don't think so anymore.
I'm hoping to make my mind up by tomorrow morning.
Oh, by the way, you heard the Clinton Foundation's under investigation by Durham.
Get out of here! I don't have to sit here. Well, I do have to sit here and listen to this. You control all the knobs. I don't have to sit here and listen to you badmouth Hillary Benghazi Clinton.
Yep, they're going after the Clinton Foundation again.
They're going after
as part of the Durham investigation into the Russian collusion and all that stuff.
Well.
It just happened to come up as part of it.
Brian says he agrees with you, Wayne. Agreed with Wayne. It's everyone's got their thing. Everyone knows what's going on. All right.
I said,
that's not even enough.
You drive through my neighborhood, it's all Trump. You drive through my whole town, it's all Trump.
Yeah, but you know what? You drive through some of the neighborhoods I go through, and there are a sea of Harris Biden signs, because that's the ticket, right? Harris Biden. Biden's running again for vice president, right?
Yeah,
isn't that what she and Joe both said last week? It's the Harris Biden.
You got to remember, that's because you're from, I'm out of here.
Oh, I'm out of here. Yeah, people make fun of me. What do you think about Ohio? And Ohio stands for, oh, how I'm out of here. Candace says, I didn't like her. Just being honest. And then Candace says, about time. All right, but here's the thing I want to say, Wayne, to you, is that, were you telling me this morning in Louisville, people's houses are being vandalized and burnt down if they have a Trump sign in their yard?
Yeah.
I saw something last week where a postal carrier, look, people, not anyone here in the thread. I know we have a very sharp group, Wayne, always we do. Mm-hmm. But in case there's someone that has to stumble in here that we don't know yet, everyone has a Ring doorbell, right?
Oh, yeah.
Wayne, I'll bet you have video cameras trained in your yard. Everyone has video cameras. Everyone has a Ring doorbell. Everyone is recording everything. Ask Jesse.
Yep.
How was I supposed to know there was a camera under the bridge in Chicago when those two people attacked me? Well, how were you to know? You wrote the check paying them. How were you to know? Oh, that's right. You're a TV actor. Oh, that makes perfect sense to me now. All right. But here's the thing. People are saying their houses, right, are being trashed if you have a Trump sign. And then a couple weeks back, the postal carrier decides, I'll help these people. I feel bad for them. I don't want any houses trashed. I'm going to go ahead, and every time I see a Trump Pence sign, I'm going to steal it. And they've got him on multiple Ring door cameras with his arms full of Trump Pence yard signs, trying to crush them into the back. You ready? You ready for this? Did you see this article? You know what his getaway vehicle is?
What is it?
It's a postal carrier truck. He's on duty in his little knickers, his black knee socks, his little knickers, his light blue shirt, stealing all these signs and trying to ram them into a back of a postal truck. Folks, the mic is always hot. The camera is always on. And everybody and their brother has a Ring doorbell. So when you think, hey, I don't know, I'll be able to get away with this, chances are pretty good that you can. And all I'm saying is, look, you got to thin the herd somehow, Wayne. So that's what I heard this morning in Louisville, was that people's houses were being burnt and trashed and graffitied if they had a Trump sign. So I'm wondering, is there a silent majority that's going to counter the violent minority? And then all of a sudden, these people are going to start coming out of the woodwork and voting. I'm wondering if that's the case, because I don't want the hassle. If someone come, you know what I mean? Unless it's me and Brian hanging out at dinner with MAGA hats on, and someone's crazy enough to come up and knock off our hats.
You know,
Brian's 85 years old. He's been studying the same martial art for 75 years or something like that, right? So you don't want to mess with Brian. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. He should be president. I'll be vice president. Brian is not 85 years old. I bet you Brian's not as old as I am. Just me not doing very well with math. I have my moments.
You know, and then you got that Chicago postal worker who was shot.
What was that all about?
Apparently a Chicago postal worker got shot up in Chicago. So now all the postal workers, the mail carrier workers, threatened to stop delivering the mail.
Only half your mail gets through anyways. Yeah. A ton of it's home in people's garages being lit on fire in a burn barrel. Brian says, did you see the electrified Trump sign? And the guy that didn't know it, Candace says, Brian Bouchard, I like it. That's great. I'm all over. I would love that. That would be something else, wouldn't it, Wayne?
Yeah.
That would be something else, an electric fence. It's kind of like the first time you're little and you're on a farm, right? Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden you realize how an electric fence works. Can you imagine going up and grabbing one of these signs and then all of a sudden, I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. All right, Wayne, before we let you go, what else is going on? We're getting ready here in a little bit. What else is going on in the news that I've forgotten to talk about that we should be talking about here in the thread?
I'm not sure. That's what I've been trying to research here as you're flapping your jaw.
Yeah. Well, somebody's got to help, right? We're waiting on you to do logos, right? This would be like a mime show. All right, let me do this real quick. Let me get over here. For some reason, I lost, and I don't want to do that. I lost the Facebook feed, so let me do this.
Breaking news. Nancy retreats.
Uh-oh.
Pelosi won't try impeaching Trump again.
Uh-oh.
And then she
Easy
says, I don't
there
think,
with 83,
then she says,
Brian
I don't think
says.
he's worth the trouble.
Do what?
She doesn't think he's worth the trouble.
Oh, so she doesn't have that arrow in her quiver.
Yeah.
She's finally, right? I think the plastic surgery's finally gotten to her.
So the problem is that
Brian
she doesn't realize everybody knows what's going on.
Yeah, sooner or later you would
so
hope.
obvious.
Brian says it's a giant Darwin Award show and cautions me easy on 83 because he knows the real difference between our ages because that's going to make me a good bit older. Candace, here's the thing. I got Wayne literally in the back of my head. He's in my earphone, but he's like, you got to watch what you say. You can't cuss. Am I allowed to say pee? Candace reminds me of when you're growing up on the farm in Virginia. The first time they talk you in, the other kids in the crowd talk you into peeing on an electric fence. What, is pee vulgar?
No, you're good.
I'm good. Okay, I'm good with pee. Karen, thank you so
it's
very
last
much
night's BS
for
that got
joining
you.
it. I'm sorry, it is or it isn't?
It's last night's BS that got you.
Oh, is that what is? Okay. Okay. Well, I didn't know I was. Yeah, well, that makes sense. Right? I should just say bullpucks from now on. That'll work. All right, so let's do this. I want to talk a little bit about don't go with go with the flow, right? And so we'll get into Mortal Up here for just a minute. And all I wanted to talk about this evening, Wayne, let's do that. We'll throw up the Mortal Up logo so that people know in case they want a flag or a sticker or something like that. Let me know. Give me a DM and we'll get you one. When we talk about go with the flow, I think Wayne's right. I think Brian's right. I think Candace is right. I think other people in the feed here are right that everybody already knows, right? We talk about wing sauce. We make fun of them. Left wing, right wing political parties. Underneath it all, thank you, Wayne. Underneath it all, it's just chicken. But when it comes to going with the flow, what separates you and I from everybody else is that we have the opportunity to say, no, I'm not going to get caught up in all that mashugana. I'm going to go with the flow of my gut. I'm going to go with the flow of my heart. I'm going to go with what I know to be right. And that's what we mean when we say go with the flow. Not to go with the crowd. Don't moor yourself. Don't chain yourself. Don't tie yourself down. Reminds me, Brian, that one time we went swimming in Onondaga Lake. And maybe that has more to do with it than oxygen deprivation and 5 brain surgeries. Just saying, who knows, right? But don't be tied down to either of these positions. What does your heart tell you? What does your gut tell you? What does your own mind tell you, right? Instead of these other people running around all crazy, screaming at you with a bullhorn saying, get up, that beer's mine, that food's mine. Silence is violence. So they scream at the top of their lungs like they got Tourette syndrome. If you go with the flow, if you say, no, I'm going to follow that inner voice. Fred says, Brian Bashar, there are other reasons for the look. Oh. Fred, how are you? Nice to see you with us. Thank you so very much. But if we go with the flow, and that flow is of our own gut, what is our gut telling us? What is our instinct telling us? What is our heart telling us? Outside of the craziness, outside of the mashugana, we're going to burn it down. Schumer, who I wanted to make the original Maleficent 7, but he didn't make it. Schumer going, well, we'll pack the court. Yeah, that's a great idea. So we end up having as enough nut jobs on the court as we do in the U.S. Senate. I don't know. Fred's a pretty good-looking guy. I don't know if I'd be giving Fred crap. Right? So if we're allowed to pack the Supreme Court every time we don't get our way, every time the cherry-picking prick in us is offended, if we do that all the time, as Brian says, he says the word demoralized right here. Don't get demoralized. What is there? They can't badger you unless you let them. They can't insult you. Personal injury, right? An attack can be personal. It can come at you, but it's only injurious. Brian will tell you, in terms of the martial art, people throw punches at you all day long. People throw kicks at you all day long. When they land, it's up to you how much damage they do if you let them land at all. But that's a function. They want to look down their noses. The lords of the universe, the 1%ers, whatever you want to call them, the overlords. They want to look down their nose. They want to water down your wherewithal because in their minds, it's easier to control us. It's easier to corral us. If they can moor us to a particular position, right? If they can make us fight, if they can keep all the riots in the streets, and we'll get into it maybe a little bit more tomorrow night, but everything that's going on with the district attorney in Kentucky, right? The more that they can keep us at the fringe agitated, right? The edge of the envelope, the more they can keep that agitated, the less we're not paying attention to the real serious crap they're trying to pull on us. So I would just say, when we offer to go with the flow, what does your gut tell you? Ignore me. Ignore everyone except your reflection in the mirror. Ask yourself honestly, what do you believe? What do you want out of life? Some of the people here in the thread are my age or older, right around my age or older, let's just say. We've worked our entire lives, and this craziness is what we get, what we have to show for it. Our kids and our grandkids and our great-grandkids, they're going to have a country that was left in turmoil by these nuts running around with their fists in the air and their bullhorns, trying to browbeat you into submission. Go with the flow of your gut. Go with the flow of your own heart. If it's not true, why? I love that term, Brian. Why let them demoralize you? There's no reason for it. Matter of fact, I think that's the definition of insanity. If you let other people talk you out of who you know you are, what you know you're all about, and forgive me, at least for me, by the time I get to this age, I'll be damned if I'm going to surrender a country to my kids that's just an absolute turmoil, because I didn't want to stand up to the loudest voices, to the most mashugana in the crowd. I didn't want to stand up to them. Think about it for a second, and then we got to go. It's like picking a bar fight, and then you let your 7-year-old son finish it for you. Guy says, let's go out to the parking lot. And I go, I got a 6-year-old. We'll send him out. That's what's going on. If you and I don't stand up to this craziness now, it's like saying to our kids or our grandkids, yeah, I poked this big guy in the chest. Would you mind taking him out in the parking lot and beating the crap out of him? How is it any different? It's not any different. That's how it's not any different, because it isn't. We will have started the fight, and then we expect our kids to handle it for us. I'm just not wired that way. I don't believe you are either. All right, we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Thank you so very much. We're looking forward to seeing you tomorrow night. It's Friday night. Please, if you get a chance, head on over to mortalup.com. Oh, and you could share this around if you liked it, if you had fun, if you want to do it. We could always, as we attempt to get syndicated, it's always great if we can have more people calling in and hanging out. So if you get an opportunity and like what you heard, please share the page, Brian Brawdy, Mortal Up. Share this page around. We super appreciate it. All right, it's 8 o'clock. We're going to go ahead and get out of here. Wayne, as always, thank you for everything. Candace, all the Bryans, Bridget, everybody, thank you so very much. Candace says, yes, BB, they know how to manipulate minds and distract. And I would add to that, they think they know how to manipulate mind. Don't let them do it to you. Then they have no clue how to manipulate your mind. We're out of here.
Thanks for listening to the Brian Brawdy Show. Until next time, get out there and mortal up.